4, 3, 2, 1. 9。
In How Institutions Think, Douglas shows how institutions bestow sameness through processes of binary classification. It is this institutional purpose of binary labeling that constructs systems that empower some while marginalizing others. They get complicated when individuals are assessed into more than one binary code. The distillation of difference into binary hierarchies of classification influences the distribution of power by locking identities within restrictive definitions that give competitive privilege to a few. The institutional bifurcation of learned experience reinforces the hierarchical structures that construct the great inequality of environment, concentrating wealth in the hands of a few and making others willingly subservient to systemic expectations. This is the foundation of the culture of acquisition, which is deliberately designed to favor some while forcing others to beg, work, borrow, or steal for favor. Tough luck, loser. You're not getting my promotion.
Systems of education impose hierarchical structures on learning. The process of learning is reorganized to align with the expected outcomes of systemic purpose. All meaning-making is predetermined by the education authority in deciding the curriculum that must be assessed. The associations and connections that create meaning are guided by educators to arrive at the desired results. Creativity is encouraged within the confines of curriculum expectations and preset learning goals. Actions are completion of projects, tests, or assignments to prove that they learned what they were meant to learn. Any internal reflection is weighed against an external assessment which has the ultimate power to determine the value or worth of each individual's learning. Once the course reaches conclusion, the process of learning ends too. There is no need to think any further or to connect learning to broader concerns. Assessment results from reflective practice which the self uses to determine the value of interactions with others. Reflection is continuous but is associated with the outcome of actions and interactions with others.
Stiggins and Conklin tell educators that learning begins with assessment, that they should determine what is important for students to learn based on the material on which they will be assessed. This discourages bias related to attitude or behavior and focuses assessment on meeting curriculum expectations. Stiggins and Conklin found that students who fit a stereotype of attentive and aggressive learning often receive higher grades than other students, not because they learn more, but because they appear to learn more.
It also turns the process of learning backwards with a process of reflective practice external to the mind and the self. It reinforces systemic assessment as the jurisdiction of external authorities working within institutional classifications. The institutional classifications construct a binary hierarchy of pass, fail with alphanumeric grades for levels of success. Assessment is bound to the curriculum, which is linked to career and identity selection within the dominant culture. As such, assessment in education determines social value and functional worth as manual and/or intellectual labor. In this systemic framework, students learn that they can increase their social value and functional worth by embedding themselves more deeply in the systemic mindset, study more, work harder, earn more grades, be better than others.
As Ryerson was aware, curriculum controls context. In the learning environment of education, the context controlled is identity development. In the culture of acquisition, the identity influenced aligns with the law of competition and economies of scale in which one worker will do more for less to be able to afford the comforts and luxuries of life that cut back criticism. In education, the curriculum provides potential pathways for employment. The more liberal the education, the greater number of opportunities are presented. As society evolves, the curriculum changes. When the former USSR launched the first artificial Earth satellite, Sputnik, in 1957, the North American curriculum changed to improve competition in rocket science. In 1969, the US had a man stick a flag in the moon. Technological change often drives change in education. Systems of education were engineered from technological change. But social change is important because it alters cultural perspectives. The promise of opportunity for all embedded in the culture of acquisition by capitalist ideals raises equity issues when subsectors of society are discriminated against due to race, gender identity, sexuality, mental health, or social economic status. These issues grew as concerns in curriculum constructs over time and are more so in the 21st century as diverse communities want their share of the dominant culture.
Learning is an ongoing process that education regulates with learning schedules. Systems of education regulate time in several ways. Curriculum content, because a fixed common curriculum requires educators to schedule the learning to fit within the school year. Curriculum content has prerequisite knowledge. One thing must be learned before another in the learning schedule. Grade-leveled programs from kindergarten to grade 12 are related to time. The scheduled learning depends on the physical age of the student. The daily schedule of classes and coursework. Regular deadlines for learning assessment. Measured progress toward graduation.
Over time, knowledge about a subject may change, and issues of equity and social justice enter curriculum content, but the schedule of learning is systemically secure. As educators understand more about the process of learning and differentiate learning instruction, they must adapt methods within the systemic temporal structure.
This is the world that I live in, an endless strip of road, going back and forth from work to home. I work at a place in the city, I work there all day. I go to my home in the country, that's where I spend my pay. This is the world that I live in, an endless strip of road, going back and forth from work to home. Me and my friends go a-drinking, oh, we hang around on the deck. We don't know what we're thinking, but we don't give a heck. Going back and forth from work to home. Sometimes we have a party, get high and have some fun. That's the life that we like to lead. We ain't hurting no one. This is the world that I live in, an endless strip of